This is a 2024 Honda CR-V Sport, or the EX if you're in the United States, priced at about $44,000 Canadian or about $34,000 in the US. This is the second most popular compact crossover in the US. And Victor, there's a reason for it, isn't there?
Well, it's really good.
Yeah,
it's really, really good. It's also the most stolen vehicle in Canada too.
Isn't that strange? We were trying to figure out, is it because it's easy to steal or just because it's popular? But
I think it's just really good. You know,
so?
it with the redesign that they put out in 2023, it's a much better looking vehicle.
And
I mean,
big too.
It's big, it's much more, you know, boxy. It has a longer hood. The last one looks like
kind of like a bubbly.
Yeah, it looks a little bubbly, and the front end looks
cute
really
and innocent.
Yeah.
Whereas this is a very handsome looking SUV.
That's right.
It's grown up.
Yeah, I really like the looks of it. This color is also stunning on this car with the black rims, which you get in the Sport trim here. This car features the 1.5 liter turbo engine that is at this point widely used across the Honda range, with 190 horsepower and 179 pound-feet of torque. It's torquey.
Yeah.
It's torquey off the line.
No, it's not bad. It's pretty much in line with the other vehicles in the segment. We were taking a look based on exterior dimensions. This really is bigger than everything else on the market. There's only two vehicles in the compact segment that are slightly larger. That would be the Mazda CX-50 and the Volkswagen Tiguan, but the current generation, not the new one coming out, at least as of now, the new Tiguan is going to get smaller again. So this is pretty much the largest that you can get, because the CX-50 for Mazda is more off-roady, whereas this is definitely going to be a pavement queen, right? You're not going to be seeing this on off-road, at least not this trim. But it's like, it feels like minus 10 degrees, 20 degrees almost out here.
Yeah.
Like, we need to hit the road, talk about why you might be interested in the 24 Honda CR-V and everything else about it to see if this could be the next compact crossover for you.
That's right, let's do it. All right, we are inside of the 2024 CR-V Sport, dodging the cold weather.
Yeah,
of course.
It's way too cold today. We really should start to get prepared for it, right? Because it is winter here in Canada. But yeah, first of all, a couple of things to note about the interior when it comes to features, even on this Sport trim, which is more of an entry level. Heated front seats, heated steering wheel, dual zone automatic climate control. Those are good things to have in our climate. And then we were talking a little bit about the interior build quality here. It's really, really good. That's one of the reasons why you're going to be paying a little bit more for the CR-V over pretty much everything else on the market. Is the build quality.
That's right. I'm very, very impressed with the build quality. All of the buttons, the rotary dials are very clicky. And overall, even though it's using, you know, plastic, soft touch plastic materials, which is, you know, basic materials as you would expect in a Honda, but the build quality, the fit and finish is really, really good.
And it's built in Canada, which is also nice if you're supporting our industry here, which is just like the Toyota RAV4 as well, which is really the most direct competitor. Not only is it also from a Japanese brand built here in Canada, but again, sales data pretty close, as the RAV4 is #1 in the US. Coming second is the CR-V. And then interestingly, the Nissan Rogue is the third best selling compact crossover in the US, which we have featured recently within the last couple of years. But yeah, I mean, interior here, pretty straightforward. Infotainment, if you can even call it that, though, it's not even infotainment. It really is just a radio unit. It's probably the most basic we've seen on a modern vehicle.
With this Sport trim, let's go over a little bit of what you get with this trim first. You do get blind spot monitoring, which is great, and heated steering wheel, which is also great. And in all of the CR-Vs, you get standard, you know, safety features like adaptive cruise control and lane centering and stuff like that. However, this infotainment screen that comes with it is really the biggest drawback that I think with this vehicle. It's so basic. It has 4 functions. You get your phone option, your radio option, your music option, and your wired Apple CarPlay. That's it. That's everything that you get with this radio system. Nothing else. You do get physical knobs for volume control, which a lot of people have been complaining about Hondas for years now, because their last gen infotainment system was this touch button that you know, never can get it working.
Oh yeah, it was the worst.
So this is a welcome change. However, this is very basic for a 2024 vehicle, or even a 2023 when they refreshed it or made it brand new, right?
And we would take a look at the pricing. If you were to go up for about $2,000 to the EXL here in Canada, I think it's the same trim in the States, you're getting that better infotainment system, a 9-inch screen, you're getting a little bit more features on the vehicle. So it's almost like this exists really just to upsell people to the next trim. But I mean, again, pricing wise, it's a little bit on the high side, but you do get the build quality and stuff for it. But we probably recommend at least going up to the EXL, which is probably the more popular option here in Canada. But if you're really looking for a basic vehicle, everything else works really well. I mean, it's comfortable, it's smooth. I've got good space here. Headroom is also pretty good. Rear seats, I think, are probably the big standout feature as well. Not only is there tons of room back there because this is such a longer vehicle, but these seats actually recline like 10 different positions. So you can go almost like 45-degree angle leaning back, or you can have it tilted really far forward, which not comfortable to sit in, but putting things in the trunk would help to have some more space there. So good amount of flexibility in that second row.
Yeah, I mean, looking through all of the trims, EXL would be the one to get, right? You get significantly more things for slightly more money. Although with the gas version of these vehicles, the EXL trim, you get a slightly uglier rim on the outside.
That is true.
It just depends if you want to look good from the outside or you want to enjoy the features from the inside. EXL also gets you memory seats, leather seats, as well as parking sensors. So there you go. I mean, whatever you choose, you can't go wrong with the CR-V in terms of the trims, but I think the EXL packs a little bit more value than the Sport itself.
For the most part, it is a compelling offering. I'm seeing tons of these on the road. I mean, it's such a noticeably different vehicle from the previous generation that you can't miss it. I mean, it is so radically different from the previous gen that Honda's really listened to feedback. They're looking at consumer trends. People want vehicles that look a little bit more rugged, a little bit boxier rather than bubblier. So they've really taken that to heart and designed a vehicle that is catering to what market demands today, and that is something that just looks the business, and it certainly does. I'd say it probably is one of the best looking compact crossovers on the market right now.
I absolutely agree with that, and Honda has built a vehicle that is also really good fundamentally in terms of the chassis and the platform and the drivetrain as well. We're going over some slightly more bumpy roads, and this vehicle handles it like a champ.
Yeah.
It's not bumpy. It's not very bumpy with this suspension, and it is also not floaty on the highway. So I'm very impressed with the dynamics and the suspension tuning with this vehicle, and it also handles quite well. I mean, that's what Honda's about. If you are considering between a Honda and a Toyota, Honda has an edge in terms of the handling. We're going over some slightly sharper turns and going uphill. This 1.5T engine gives you ample amount of torque for the segment, which on the contrary, the RAV4, you really need to rev it out because the gas version of the RAV4 is a 2.5 liter naturally aspirated engine, right? Something interesting that I've noticed with this all-wheel drive system, I get a gauge here up front showing me where the power is going on all four wheels, and it seems like it's pretty much full-time all-wheel drive. I mean, obviously you get a little bit more power to the front as expected, but all four wheels get power as soon as you press on the gas.
Yeah, that's always been a complaint when other larger outlets are doing actual testing to see if that four-wheel drive system is working. They typically find that it's not. So it's interesting to see that here it seems to be as advertised, which has always been how Honda has advertised the all-wheel drive system on the CR-V as all-time four-wheel drive. It seems to be working finally. We don't have any rough weather to be testing it in today. It's pretty clear, so we can't tell you if it's good in the snow or not. But yeah, I would imagine that having obviously a good set of winter tires will make a big difference, but it seems to work. And we even put it in eco mode, and it still had four-wheel drive going pretty much right off the line. So good to know there if that was maybe a concern of yours, that you weren't getting that true full-time all-wheel drive system. So far it seems to be working. Well, I think we need to swap positions here. I'll take a drive in this because it's been a couple of years since I've driven the CR-V. We did it last, I believe, it was 2019 or 2020, so you can check that video out to see how it's improved. But let's swap seats and go from there. All right, now I'm behind the wheel of this. I've put the car into Econ mode just to see how it compares to normal mode, but it gives us a good opportunity to talk about the fuel economy. We completed our 100-kilometer test loop in this vehicle in normal mode in 7 liters per 100 kilometers, which is extremely impressive for a compact crossover.
That's right. This vehicle, as rated by Honda, does around 9 liters in the city and 7.5 or 0.6 in the highway. So
Pretty good.
Exceeded that, which is great. So I have no complaints in terms of fuel economy.
Yeah, I mean, it's we talk about this often now that we're redoing our fuel economy testing. It doesn't mean that you're going to get that result, but it compares to the other vehicles we've done. And when we compare it to things that we've done recently, it is in subcompact crossover territory. Things like the Hyundai Kona and Kia Seltos, which are smaller vehicles, that's what they achieved. So this is extremely good for fuel economy. You know, maybe if you're putting 4 guys like me in it, you're not going to be seeing nearly that good, but for the most part, good amount of fuel economy out of this vehicle for the size. I mean, this is big.
You were accelerating a little bit just now, and I hear the engine droning.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the CVT in this.
Yeah, there's not much to get excited about. I mean, right now if I like mash it down, whoa, buddy. Yeah, you can finally get up to the top end of the gears there and the rev count, but I mean, this thing kind of lives around, what, 2,000-3,000 RPM. It's a CVT. It's not meant to be exciting to drive, but you know, it seems to get us up to speed. Like, if I floor it, it's not looking for anything. It knows kind of where the revs need to be, so it works. You know, again, like, this is not the type of vehicle that enthusiasts are going to be buying because they want to have something fun and sporty to drive, but it is going to be good enough for fuel economy, good enough for just day-to-day driving. And if you really don't care too much about how it works and you just want a car that works, this is great.
As most people will look at the RAV4 as well when considering a CR-V, the RAV4 gasoline version has a 2.5 liter Atkinson cycle 4-cylinder engine with an 8-speed automatic transmission. So in that transmission, you would actually get real shifts, and if you enjoy a more realistic driving or a more traditional driving experience, try that out as well. With that said, the CVT is more smooth. It is a more comfortable drive in terms of low speeds, especially. The 8-speed in the Toyota is a little bit clunky at low speeds, especially when you come to an almost stop and then you accelerate again. That's where the CVT excels in, because you basically would never get any jerkiness from this transmission. That engine is also great. In terms of overall reliability, I think Toyota still has a slight edge. But this has proved to be a great powertrain for Civics as well as CR-Vs. And the CVT does a really great job at keeping it efficient. The CVT paired with this 1.5T is also slightly more efficient than the Toyota variants. So if you want to stick to a gasoline vehicle, this may be the one for efficiency. But if you want to talk about the hybrid ones, we will do a video soon and talk about the CR-V hybrid and the Toyota RAV4 hybrid.
Yeah, because we're finally getting some vehicles again from Toyota, so we're hoping to get, we've got the Grand Highlander coming up, which is going to be exciting. So we're hoping to do some stuff like that. And then Honda has had quite a lot of vehicles on their fleet, so we're hoping to get the CR-V hybrid just to see how that compares. Because I personally, I've said this since the beginning of doing test drive. I mean, every vehicle really should be a hybrid. Some brands like Hyundai have decided that a vehicle like the Tucson, the higher up in the trim you go, it's all hybrid. And same thing with the CR-V in the US, and same thing with this, the top trim. But you know, at least with Hyundai, like the top 3 trims are all hybrid, and same thing with Toyota. I mean, the higher up you go, it's pretty much all hybrid. So you don't really have a choice but to go with it. I think that's great, because I mean, you know, most people aren't going to be towing with this. You're not going to be putting a trailer on the back of this, so having a hybrid engine is fine, and overall fuel efficiency will improve, especially if you're using it in the city, which is what this is meant for. You know, there really is no downside to it. And you can talk about long-term reliability, but both Honda and Toyota have been doing hybrids for quite a long time now, so there's some good pluses to go with either one of those. But I mean, as this one is configured, you know, I'm pretty happy with it overall. We're driving around here in town. I hate to say it, But I actually do like the CVT on this. It's probably one of the few CVTs that actually, you don't have to really worry about it. It really does just kind of work, and you don't have to care. So good job, Honda. I mean, you actually made me like a CVT for once. That's a set of words I was never expecting to say on this show, but I'm sure we're gonna hear from some people in the comments. But hey, you got to drive it. I like it.
Overall, I'm very impressed with this CR-V. The build quality is amazing, as mentioned. The backseat room is also amazing. You get to slant your seat back quite a bit, so if you want a little bit of a more luxurious position, not necessarily luxurious materials, that's where you go.
Yeah.
And the trunk space is also huge. Of course, you can fold down the seats and put more cargo in. Overall, this is a great package of a vehicle. There's a reason why this is the most stolen vehicle in Canada, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
I mean, it is a really good vehicle. Of course, there are some minor drawbacks with this vehicle that you cannot equip it with compared to the Toyota, like a panoramic sunroof, as well as a 360 camera. But honestly, those two items are relatively minor, and with the RAV4 being quite dated as we speak in 2024, this might be a better option.
Yeah, absolutely. And like we said, there's not much to fault about it. It really does get the job done. You just have to be willing to fork out a little bit more for it compared to the competition. But that's kind of how it's always been for Honda. They've always been just a little bit more premium than their competition. But aside from that, that's about it. I think, as always, we like to say, if you have any comments, questions, things like that, please leave a comment below. We do try to get back to everybody as quickly as we can. If you haven't considered subscribing to the channel, we do invite you to do so. It costs you nothing, and it helps us get to our milestone of 50,000 subscribers, as well as you'll be able to see all the fun stuff we're doing here on the show, because 2024 is kicking off with a bang. We've got some awesome stuff lined up in this year, so stay tuned for that. But thanks for watching, and until next time, take care.